What is good, everybody? Hope you are having a wonderful week so far. Podcast time this week is a little bit of a special one. A couple of weeks ago was the one and only ADE, which is Amsterdam dance event. I was fortunate enough to be asked by Armada and Dolby Atmos to go into the Dolby Atmos House and record a podcast with HoneyLuv and Francis Mercier. Both of these people have been on the podcast, so yeah, it's kind of a good catch up. They both excelled massively in their careers since they were on the podcast. What a coincidence. Only joking. They've smashing it. Both of them make their own individual sounds. Both of them have evolved over the last 2 years, especially with HoneyLuv. We speak about how she has evolved in kind of being early in the industry when she started a couple of years ago and to where she's at now, where she's a global artist, and to the extent of where Francis Mercier has like gone from within the last 10 years, but especially how his career has advanced in the last year or so, even more so in the last 6 months. So yeah, it was a great episode. I do apologize for some background noise. We were in Dolby Atmos House and they were absolutely blasting Dolby Atmos cinematic trance in the room next door, which we did not know about. So I apologize for that if that comes across in any of the recording. Anyway, I'll let you crack on. Francis Mercier and HoneyLuv. Big love and enjoy. HoneyLuv, Francis Mercier. What's cooking, guys?
Mercier.
Mercier, sorry.
Ooh.
Okay, my French is terrible.
Okay.
Mercier.
How's it going?
Very good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. What about
Going
you?
amazing. Can't complain.
This is the first time we've done a podcast with actually an audience, so it's a bit weird for me personally. But welcome to the Dolby Atmos in Amsterdam, ADE. Been here before?
Ladies first.
Yeah, this is my second time here for ADE.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
It's my third time. It's a long time coming. I mean, the first time I came, I didn't know anybody, so this time around it feels like more.
Everybody knows you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. the roles have reversed.
It's really interesting because I had both of you guys on at the podcast like early on in your careers.
Yeah, super early.
Like really, like you were still in your bedroom
Yeah,
in
I
LA
was.
writing, and you'd been doing it for years, but
Yeah.
it kind of was like still at the tipping point of where it was. And I've completely fucked up the last podcast we did, so I'm really happy that we can do this again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Francis texted me for like a bit of backstory. Francis texted me going, "Dude, I'm in the Zoom call room," and I was stretching at the gym.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
just like so
Just
bad.
totally forgot.
Typical Will.
Completely forgot.
He's stretching.
Oh gosh.
I'd put my back out like a few weeks before, and I was like doing some back stretches. But yeah, I kind of wanted to just really go in on that. But it's nice. It's amazing to see what both of you achieved in the last couple of years from like when we last talked. I know we've like kept in touch over the years,
Yeah.
but I think it's been amazing to watch each career grow. And I guess where I want to start, Francis, Afro House, where the fuck did that come from? Because it's literally taken over. Can you like dig a bit deeper into like how you see the scene has like grown into such a powerful movement?
Yeah, I think it stems from people's interest in different culture. I think right after, during COVID, people wanted something different and they wanted to kind of like escape reality. So that's where I think, the sound that was different, that was coming from Africa, that was popular in Tulum, that was just away from the main cities, was just of interest. And it kind of like did an entire spiral in the music industry. I think a lot of artists really kind of took a chance to do something different, something unique. And it worked out. I mean, since 3 years, the genre has really grown. There's many subgenres of Afro House now, and I think it's slowly incorporating more culture, more, stuff from South America. There's like Afro House with like Arabic flavor, with Latin flavor. So it's like, I think it's here to stay.
It's fucking got massive.
really has.
Like it's like gone from nowhere to everywhere. But I think it's really interesting. It's kind of like, in my opinion, in the scene, it's you've got the Afro kind of side, which is way slower, and then you have the other side of the spectrum where techno's, or what techno is called now, into something that's just almost like trance.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
And it's almost like you've got the like complete polar opposites, but they're also like completely different crowds. So like the Afro scene seems to me, and I don't know it as well as you guys do, but it seems way more bottle service. It seems like an older demographic, where the kind of the techno side of things just seems like it's the bunch of ravers just getting at it.
To a certain extent, you know, you have like Amapiano is also very popular, and it brings like a large GA crowd as well. It varies, but I think at the end of the day, you know, music is music, so there are similarities in every genre. But what you said is definitely relevant. I think, you know, the more upbeat Afro house, it does cater to an older audience, or one that travels more, that's exposed to, you know, worldwide culture.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. But I guess for me, like with you, Taylor, you've evolved whilst being in the like spotlight of getting famous.
Barely.
No, because it's like your sound from like when I first heard from you, right? Even like with like 365 or 365. Like that's nothing like you do now.
Nothing.
And so I guess it's like, how has that been? Because so many people evolve as artists, and I know Francis has as well. But like, how have you dealt with that in like the spotlight of everything, with like working out who you are as a human being, working out who you are as an artist, and also trying to evolve your sound when you were still like super fresh in the scene.
No.
Yeah.
It was challenging because I feel like when you're coming in as a new person and you come in with a certain sound, people want to stick you to that. Yeah. And I knew for me, like, I'm still exploring. I didn't know what my sound was going to be a year from now, 2 years from now. I was just exploring and seeing what, you know, led me to whatever direction. And I think the only hardest part was just getting people to see that, okay, she can do more, not just this particular genre. I can do house, I can do techno, I can do Afro house. It doesn't matter because I love music. So whatever music that I'm going to play. And I think it just took time for people to realize that and see that the diversity is there, and I'm not just this one little section.
Do you think artists have to have a sound?
Have a sound?
Yeah. So like for me, I think growing up into the industry, it's always been like, you kind of have to be put in a box to a certain extent. And it's like, okay, you're the Afro house dude, or you're the tech house girl, or you're the techno dude, or whatever. Do you think that's like key for branding to like grow?
I think you should have an identity.
Yeah.
But I do think, you know, as artists, despite your identity, you should be able to be free to explore a bit and to kind of help the specific identity they gave you evolve, right? It's your role as a trendsetter, as an artist, as a DJ, to introduce new sounds, to bring something fresh to whatever category they give you.
Facts. I know. I totally agree with that.
It's hard though, right? Because I think it sometimes is that you grow your fans get built knowing what they like, right? And then I think let's say, for instance, in your situation, like in the tech house era, right? The early like releasing on Black Book, things like that. Those fans are probably very different to your fans. You probably would have kept a lot of those fans, but there's still that like changeover. I remember having it with Dirty Bird, like leaving Dirty Bird and kind of moving more into like techno at that time. It was like hard to kind of get newer fans to kind of even understand that like you're part of this now.
Yeah.
Have you ever struggled with that?
I think people just want to, you know, they want to be a part of something new. So if you're going on a new journey, they want to be there with you. And I think that's basically when you're starting off, have that core solid group, and then they'll follow you wherever, to be honest.
Yeah, I myself, I didn't really struggle with that. And I don't foresee struggling with a change of genre or a change of style or whatever, because for me specifically, I try to build my career based on culture. I try to, you know, connect with fans in like North Africa. I try to connect with fans in the Middle East, with communities, and I think that makes you more relevant over time, because it's not just because you had a big record that somebody remembers you. You know, we actually take the time to go tour in these places, to repeat shows. I'm sure HoneyLuv has done so as well. All throughout the US, I've seen her, you know, really make an effort to be present at shows.
Yeah, meet with people. It's very important. Just talking with them.
When you build a fan base that's beyond just, hey, here's a producer, here's an artist. You build a fan base based on your personality and who you are as an artist. Then, you know, you have the more freedom to kind of go where you want and musically.
I think it's about telling the story as well.
Yeah.
Because I think like we've all have our favorite bands from school or favorite artists that they release their first album and then their second album is like completely different, and it takes time to get used to that, right? It's like, I think it's our job as artists to tell the story of this is where I'm going and this is how it's going to connect to that. But I think in this day and age of streaming, we have the ability to release so much more music. What's your thoughts on the streaming at the moment?
Go ahead, Francis.
I think it's good. I think, you know, we have the freedom to release a lot of music. I think it may be a bit much. I think some artists kind of like release too much. Doesn't really give space.
What is that? So I actually asked that on Instagram the other day. Like, what is too much music in your eyes?
I think if an artist is releasing an original every 2 weeks, every month, I think that's a bit much. You know, it kind of...
I let it marinate.
Especially the big artists, the super big artists, you know, they put like a record every 2 weeks.
But does that just come when it's like, okay, we're now running a business?
Yeah, it comes as we're now running a business. It's, you know, we're taking every demo that comes our way. We repackage it as an original. We make a cover of XYZ and we release, and, you know, we're just like collecting streams and for me, I think, you know, when an artist puts an original, I think there should be more storytelling.
Agreed.
More touring around the specific song, more effort. And I think this kind of, if you know, people were a little bit more attentive to taking their time with releases, it would elevate the quality of the music.
Yeah.
Great.
How do you do that though?
I know.
What's your approach?
I know for me, I just took time just to like basically explore my sound and see what works, what I liked, working with different people, just, you know, creating something that I'll be really, really proud of and not just rushing it because that's what people want. They want you to keep putting out music. And so I had to battle with that for a while just to, you know, relax, do it when it's time, because you don't want to just put stuff out just to put it out.
It's such a weird battle because like when I asked that on Instagram, like everyone was like, put out as much as you possibly want, we'll take it. And I think that's the thing, is like I totally agree with what you're saying or what you're both saying. And it's like there has to be time for it to marinate into the world.
Yeah, I think, you know, if remixing, for example, that's cool. You know, you want to make a version of a track. Okay, you want to still be active as a producer, as a DJ. That's cool. But if you're gonna make an original composition, I think there should be like maybe a music video. You should actually think about the message you want to put out. It should be a bit more meaningful. There should be like a body of work.
Okay, let's talk music videos. I'm glad you brought this up because I think all of us as producers, DJs, writers, all of the above, we absolutely love music videos.
Yeah, we do.
I did
fucking
since I
love
was a
them.
kid.
Unfortunately,
labels don't.
The labels, they're very conservative when it comes to that.
Which is understandable when it comes to a business sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like you run a record label, like you get it, right? You know, we all know how much it costs to make a music.
But it also pushes the song forward, and people like to see visuals. Like, we're in an age of everyone wants to see what's going on.
Especially with YouTube being the biggest streaming platform, not just in music, but just generally.
In general,
especially all over the world. We're talking about Afro House. In Africa, people don't use Spotify too much.
Nice.
YouTube.
Yeah.
So I think music videos are important. I mean, I've done it a few times, maybe a bit too early. I think a good strategy is, to release a song, see how it succeeds. If
Yeah.
there's some sort of like indication that it's going to create some revenue, then okay, we can invest in a
video.
music video. I think it's always a plus.
But I also think as artists is like there comes a point when we also have to invest in our own music. Whether a record label doesn't want to do it or not, I think
Absolutely.
there's a point of where we're like, actually, we want to do a music video. Like we want something to be kind of seen. It's another way of talking about our art, right?
Yeah.
And showing our art to the world.
And I was looking at my YouTube page. Think about it. 10 years from now.
I'm going to pull it up now so I can look at it as well.
Yeah,
let's look at it.
10 years from now, you're going to look back. Okay, I made all these records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what's the memory? Okay, it's just a song cover.
Yeah, that's it.
Really? It's just like a Instagram post. Whereas you could go into creating something unique for every song,
Yeah.
trying to create like a visual, taking the time to record something, even if it doesn't necessarily make profit. I mean, we got into this industry for the love of the art, right?
100%.
To create something that we love. So I don't think I think it's important not to ever take that away.
Well, I think I was talking to friends last week about it, like that aren't in the music industry. And it's still the amount of stuff that we do for free is absolutely crazy. In a sense of like, just everything we do it's always for that. Not everything. Obviously, we all make money, and we're all fortunate that we can make money in this industry now. But like the amount we do to grow the business for free is pretty amazing. But it's also just a huge amount of investment.
Yeah.
And it's investment in our own time. Starting out nowadays as an artist, you've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Taylor's been doing it 4 years. Like, you came up through a time like just post-COVID, right? You started during COVID. Post-COVID, it kind of started popping off. How do you think starting out as an artist now would be like?
I don't even honestly know, because when I was coming up, I had just got out of the military, one, and then COVID happened. Then we had Twitch.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a great outlet for me to like let people know, like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
This is what you can expect. And I think that helped out a lot. And I think probably it could still work, today. But you just really got to stand out, because there's a mass of people doing the same thing. So I feel like you have to have something, or just being yourself too also helps. And I feel like a lot of artists have a hard time doing that. And if you're more authentic, more people will come to you.
It's hard, right? Because I think we're in that time where the artist has all the power now in his hand with social media. Like we have like free marketing everywhere we go, and we don't actually have to rely on anyone. You're one post away from being the biggest DJ in the world. I had Mochak on the podcast, and like he was like literally, obviously I was touring. He was saying he was touring in Brazil, but posted one video on TikTok, didn't do well. Posted it again on Instagram, blew the fuck up, like literally overnight. And the overnight thing isn't a real thing. We all know that. Like there's years and years of preparation before that. But I still think there's a level for younger artists coming through now. It was always hard, but it feels just way harder now.
I actually don't agree fully.
Okay, tell me.
I think the fact that social media is so powerful and being able to distribute your music is not a myth. Being able to make music is not a myth. Imagine 20 years ago how expensive a computer was. How difficult it was to get a copy of Ableton. How mysterious it was to get information.
LimeWire, cracked.
You didn't even have internet back in the day.
Yeah.
Like internet was so slow. Like
dial up.
But to counter that, I don't disagree with you at all. But to counter that, you also now have an influx of a lot of average art.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is a lot of average art. There's a lot of producers, but the fact that it's so accessible is that you could create something and with some originality, as Taylor mentioned, with some confidence to be able to take failure and learn from it and like grow from it like you mentioned, Moshak, we posted on TikTok, it wasn't good. He posted the next day on Instagram,
Game over.
blew up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's all about being able to be confident. And the fact that all of this information is at our disposal, the fact that every DAW, every computer, it's so accessible.
Yeah, it really is.
I think today you can make it, whereas 20 years ago, you were dependent on the label, you were dependent on some A&R or some manager.
Or who you knew
True.
or everything like that. Yeah.
I mean, 15 years ago, if you weren't signed on Spinning Records or Armada, as a matter of fact, you're not going to make it as a DJ.
Yeah.
If you don't have the support of Tiesto and David Guetta, God bless.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because like back then, radio was so big. Like Radio 1 was so powerful, right?
That too.
And now the power of streaming, the power of radio isn't as powerful as social media and like really building real communities. But starting out, how do you build that when you're just in the noise? Because there's so much noise now.
You just got to be original.
Yeah,
you just got to make content that's cool. You just got to make records that are cool. You just got to do something different. And you got to work with what you have. I mean, that's really my main thing is, I work, in addition to my own project, I also manage a few artists.
Yeah.
And I help a lot of artists all around the world. And I can't, repeat myself. Like, you got to work with what you have. If you're in Africa, make music for the people around you.
Facts.
Work with the people around you. If you're in Asia, okay, cater to your community.
Yeah.
All facts.
You could be, and then once you become, the king of the village, sure, you can then try to attack the world. But attempting to, market yourself to
the rest of the world
when you don't have relevance in your own community, I think it's mission impossible. So I think, work with what you have, be confident within your space, take from your culture, represent your culture, and you have a much better chance. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because that's honestly what helped me, just being myself, working around what I had. And it worked out pretty well.
I think it is also just a level of dedication to it, right?
Yeah, you got to be hungry.
Like I've seen Francis, I've seen you, like the amount of work you have to put in for it to actually do anything. It's consistency. You got to turn up every single day.
You have to be obsessed.
Yeah.
Like that's literally the only way you can really, expand this. You just got to be obsessed.
Let's talk about managers. All of our managers are in the room right now, so we can talk a bit of shit about them.
Let's go.
At what point do you feel the time to add a manager to your team is key? You also manage artists. So at what point is that?
First of all, you got to be able to make money because your manager's not going to work for free. So, when there's enough revenue on the table and when there's enough product for a third party to be assisting, it's a good idea.
Yeah, same with me. I think it just happened gradually, to be honest. And it wasn't the perfect time, wasn't the right, I don't know. It just happened automatically. And I think it was at a point of my career where I was just getting like the little start. And so to have someone help manage that and put you in the right directions helped out a lot.
Yeah.
I don't recommend getting a manager before you have records.
Yeah.
You say like, let's get a manager before you have a vision, before you're making any revenue, or before there's anything on the table. Because at the end of the day, if you engage yourself in such activity, you may end up with the wrong candidate because you won't get like interest from actually developed managers. And most importantly, it's gonna be a waste of time for that person if they're working on something that's not developed.
I actually disagree with the revenue side.
Okay.
Because I think there's some sort of level, especially starting out as an artist, to have somebody that truly believes in the product and it's not financially, it's not based on finances.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I'm just saying, in other words, like you don't want to get a manager if, in my opinion, if you don't have like there needs to be a business plan.
No shit going on if you're
Yeah.
literally just twiddling your thumbs.
If you're just twiddling your
wouldn't do it
but
anyway.
if you have like, 5 records and then somebody's like, hey, listen, after we release these 5 records, we can get X amount of advance from XYZ label. I foresee in 2 years we can be able to get X amount of revenue. There needs to be like some sort of plan.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're hiring a manager, there needs to be, this is a conversation that needs to be held.
Yeah.
To try to get a manager and to try to get somebody work with you without like planning and profit sharing and having an idea of how much we're gonna make at some point, I don't think it makes sense.
How did you find your manager?
Oh, he found me. You need to ask him that because I really don't know how.
Hunted you down.
Yeah, I really don't know how because I only had like maybe 2 or 3 songs out already.
Oh, really?
But it was on
early.
a small label in LA called Pop Gang. So yeah, I really don't know. You have to ask him.
Did some headhunting. Well done, Marco. What about you?
Actually, my manager, he started off as my intern.
Oh.
Then he built himself to become the label manager at my record label.
Yeah.
And over time, he became my manager.
Sick.
Right. So it's a bit different for me where it was like a growing process together.
Yeah.
Together we built ourselves, that was my experience. And today, how do I work with artists on the management side of things? It's kind of similar, like if they have records, I see there's potential.
Yeah.
I see I can leverage something to like help them and bring something for their career. It makes sense. But a lot of people approach me. They say, hey, Francis, I'd love to work with you. I love your label. I love your team. If it's too early, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Neither for the artist because the artist is going to be disappointed. Neither for us because we're wasting our time.
Well, it's also failure, right? It's like you want to kind of help people, but you also have to succeed as managers, right? If you want to manage an artist, you have to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think if it's too early on in the career, it's not worth it. You can still mentor. You can be a mentor to them. You can still help them out through that. But I think there comes a point when it's okay. Now we're part of the team.
Yeah.
How important is your team?
Oh, very important because we're literally like a family. So we're talking with each other every day, making plans. And
There's a lot of noise going on in the background.
It is AD,
Yeah, I know.
true.
11 a.m. dance music.
But no, I think it's super important because these are the people you're going to grow within your career. And
Yeah.
if you make sure you have to be able to trust them, that's number one. And everyone has to be on the same page. And everyone has just to know what the goal is and what, at the end of the day, this is why we're here.
Yeah, teams are so important because I think realistically, like we're all just doing our own thing. We're all just trying to create art and tour and do all that, and having a team behind us is super important. That's so fucking loud.
Feels like a sound bath.
It sounds like we're in a cinema. It's
I
like
know.
Hans Zimmer next door.
AD.
ADE, baby. ADE. At least it's not like banging techno or
Oh,
trance.
facts. I don't mind this.
It's Tomorrowland music or something.
Probably.
It feels like a sound bath.
So I guess for me, we're in the streaming era where we have artists that stream real heavily, and we have a touring era where artists tour really heavily, and then we have artists that stream really heavily that don't tour really heavily that don't stream, and then we have the superstars that do both. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it just really depends on where you're putting your focus. I feel like a lot of people put their focus more on touring, and some people put more of their focus on, making the music. And which is also hard at the same time too, because if you're touring, it's hard for you to go in the studio and make songs all day. Because when you want to come home, you just want to relax.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I said, you have to be obsessed. You have to be hungry because you have to be able to do both. And so, and I feel like if you want to achieve both of that, you have to actually give your energy to both equally.
It's fair. Yeah. You're very much at that point now where your streaming's really strong. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you, as like all of us, we want more. But like your streaming's really strong now. Your touring's really strong. Like, what was the tipping point for you? Like, what was the record that happened?
The track is Premier Gao. I think that was like a really big sample.
Yeah.
It was the right record. But most importantly, the reason why it works for me is because the records I make are for the club. So it kind of works hand in hand,
Yeah.
right? I make music that I can perform. And coincidentally, and thank God, people actually like it and they stream it, right? I make sure to print a radio version and it's working right nowadays, right? But I think the perfect recipe is if you can connect the music you're doing to perform to the music you're actually releasing, then you can achieve both.
Yeah.
How did you do it though?
To be honest with you, as I mentioned,
Is there a formula or is it just...
I think there is a formula. I think the way I did it is, and the way many artists do it is, you first start with your community.
Mm-hmm.
You first start making music for a group of people that are fond of a genre, and from there you expand to different subgenres and you kind of scale it.
Yeah.
So, like a lot of my success stems from France. Like a lot of my records are like big French samples, big French records, popular in like Europe, popular in like North Africa. And I really, gained the fan base in those regions. And from there, it kind of expanded. Then I started working with Insomniac, and now the sound has become bigger and bigger. I've released on my label, and, all over the world, people are streaming it.
It's really interesting because when we first spoke, you were in the position of trying to tour America more and try and grow your fan base in America. When we speak a lot, and you pre-summer or maybe a year ago, you were like, you want to grow Europe.
Yeah.
You both have like achieved both of that. I guess from the start of wanting to do that. Okay, so you're like, okay, we want to tour America, we want to tour Europe. How did that start? What was that process that you kind of spoke to the teams about, like step through of like it actually happening now?
I know I just made it like from the first start, I was like, I want to be able to play, here in America and also in Europe. And I felt like it was a big part of me to go over to Europe just because I wanted to, expand globally. I just didn't want to stay in the US. And so I think I just made a point of that. And then we set up a plan for me to just go do small clubs touring. And it honestly went really, really well. We got a lot of really good feedback. And so I was really happy with that because it was just a dream of mine to, be able to tour in Europe, and to be able to do that is like crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean the U.S. I was familiar with it. To be honest with you, because that's where originally I grew up in New York. It was a challenge, but we made it work. I was lucky enough. It's thanks to the music, the first show I did in LA with Framework, they really loved my work. So they were like, man, we love what you do, how you perform. This is like, reminds us of Eric Murillo. I was like, okay, thanks, guys. And it went very, very fast. I mean, they were like, okay, we love your work. We want to invite you to play Coachella. Next day after the first show. So, the music connected, the originality worked, and some of the more forward-thinking promoters were
on board.
And it kind of went naturally. You start with the big cities. You start with New York. You start with LA. You start with Miami. You create some sort of buzz there. Then it goes to the secondary markets, smaller cities. You go to Chicago. You start going to Orlando. And it goes from there to there. And it went really fast. And I mean, nowadays it is surprising, but I really feel like it ties into what I mentioned earlier, how important it is to have a community. Because I recently played in Austin, Texas, and I didn't know how it would go.
It's a cool city now.
Yeah.
It really
cool.
is.
Yeah.
But turns out there was like a bunch of Egyptians, a bunch of Moroccans. I don't know where they came from. Yeah, they had their flags.
They have a huge community there. There's like a famous Egyptian barbecue dude as well.
But that's just to show you how community is important.
Yeah.
Right? If you show up in any city in America, you will find a bit of everything.
Facts.
So if you are popular in Asia, you're gonna kill it in New York.
Facts.
If you're popular in South
LA
America,
too.
right? If you're popular in South America, you go to Miami, you're going to be like the king.
Yeah.
Same for New York, same for LA, same from Houston, San Diego. So at the end of the day, yeah, I think, the US is a very large market that has a lot of subcultures, that's very diverse. And I think similar for Europe, if you want me to be honest with you. Europe doesn't have many Americans, but it has a lot of like South Americans, South Africa, like African people. It has a lot of like Middle Eastern, Asian. So definitely, I think, being true to a culture, having something unique is really the key.
It's really interesting because I think for me, my career has been built on, obviously there's a level of music, but I think it's mostly just touring and just being put in front of people and kind of building fans that way. Do you think that's more important than people hearing your music, or where do you think you build
both at the same time?
I do agree. I think both at the same time as well, because people want to be able to like meet you and talk with you. It's really important. And I even like message people all the time. It's just being able to have that communication. I think it's really important with your fan base, because it's not like, oh, we can never talk to her, never touch her. And I feel like if you're open with that, people really appreciate that.
It's changed so much as well. Because the DJ used to be so like, we can't contact the DJ.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think all of the artists who have their teams manage their accounts and like talk to fans,
it's weird.
Yeah,
this is regression. Yeah. This is like a thing of the past. That this is not a thing of today. Today, you got to be available to your fans. Your fans are your friends. Actually, I think that when I go to cities, I like see a lot of familiar faces. Yeah. These are the people that buy tickets. These are the people that promote your music. These are the people that tell their friends about you, and your friends about you, and their friends tell about their friends, and that's how you create buzz,
I do always say that, like, even if you sold out a show, I do say that, like, you're going into the club and maybe 30% of the people know who you are. The other 70% are literally people that their friends that like made them come along because they all want a friend to go and rave.
Exactly.
And then it's like, how do you then capture that 70% that don't really know who you are or aren't super fans, or
you give them a great performance. Yeah. You take the time to, I don't know, after the set, take some pictures.
Yeah.
Like
have a little chat.
Yeah.
And then they're like in your DMs, like, oh, that was my first time seeing you. It was just amazing. Can't wait to see you again. So I feel like it always helps. It really does.
Yeah. I dig it. Record labels. You run your own?
Yeah, I do run my own.
How's that going?
Very good. I'm very happy. We had like a stellar year. 2023 was a year of growth. It's also the 10th year of my main record label, Deep Root Records. Yeah. Deep Root Tribe, we created it about 3 years ago, so it's pretty new. But that's where, all the afro house, all this kind of style of music that we've been releasing. It's been amazing. All of my artists have grown. We had a track called Dana Dana, which is nearing 10 million streams.
Wow.
We recently released a track from Night Freak called Not the Same. Black Coffee's supposed to remix it. Yeah. In the process of it. Yeah, so I mean it's been amazing, man. The support has been incredible. We had for me, musically, in terms of a record label, this was a fantastic year. Mm.
What's your thoughts of the role of the record label now?
I think a record label, you play a super important role in the artist's career, right? You have the capacity to invest in a record. You have the capacity to scale the record. And if you're an actually record label that wants to make a difference, you can help the artist on the live side.
Yeah.
I think a good record label can really help an artist. It's a shame sometimes I see some artists sign their records to a label and then the label doesn't have the bandwidth to help the artist in different areas.
Yeah, because I think we're in a really interesting time of where the record label and the artist, or the artist doesn't need a record label to release music. Like when I started releasing music, you had to have a record label because you needed to distribute, and now artists can distribute themselves. Yeah. What's your thoughts on self-releasing and kind of running?
I think self-releasing is great. I think it's something that artists should definitely keep into account. But I think at some point, you have to like kind of get visibility on different platforms.
Yeah.
The record label, it may not, it may not give you the best results, but at least you'll be exposed to a different audience.
Yeah.
Hopefully the record label has like a live aspect where they can, help you and include you in some showcases. Preferably they have relationships with other DJs so other DJs could play your songs. So there's a lot of things a record label can do. Hopefully the record label has relationships with the DSPs to like potentially get you in suitable playlists.
Yeah.
Hopefully the label has access to third-party playlists to like help people spread the music. So I think the record label still plays an important role. It's not the only way of doing it. If you have a viral record that's trending on TikTok or Instagram, you don't need a label.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, if you have a label, the label can scale it bigger.
But also to have a viral TikTok moment is, you never know. You can't guess that.
And that's
right?
that can also be costly.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times, you'll have to like work with influencers. You'll have to work with creators.
Yeah.
And they don't
And
create.
it's not free.
Yeah. the best ones, they request some sort of contribution for them to create.
Yeah.
It's a business. Like they're not going to make hundreds of reaction videos just for the love, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
So having a record label that's invested, having a group of people who actually believe in your work. But I think it's important for the artist to vet the record label, to see the pros, the cons, and to like, be selective, because, your music, it is something sacred. It is something that's very important, and it should not go to someone that doesn't really care or
doesn't appreciate it.
is not able to do the suitable level of leveraging, of commitment, of pushing. Even the majors, if they're not dedicated and they don't have a plan, it's pointless.
I guess that's the question though, is as signing to a record label as an artist, should there be an expectation from the artist of what that label can deliver?
I definitely think so, because I know when I signed with Insomniac, they went, for every release, they went all out, whether it was having, people do TikTok videos, distribution with getting Spotify playlists, Apple playlists. They like went in, and I feel like all labels, should. I mean, all labels don't have the budget that Insomniac has, but just the effort that they put into each and every artist in the song they release is something that people should study.
Are you going to start your own?
Oh yeah, it's in the process. Called For the Love.
I've seen you've done parties for that.
Yes.
What's the plan for starting a record label with that?
For me, it was just putting like my touch on what house music is to me, and I feel like it's important for me to have that and put that out into the world, and to bring other people along, because like for me, a lot of my friends didn't know what house music was. They didn't know where it came from. So for me to start this party is just to show people like, hey, there's someone that looks like me. Come check it out, see if you like it or not. And so far the responses have been crazy.
Yeah.
And like now my friends always want to come to parties when they had no clue, and they're telling their friends. And so it's just about building, more community and bringing more people into the culture.
It's so funny when your friends start listening to house music. I don't know if you've ever had this, but I grew up in Bristol, so I grew up with drum and bass. Like everyone fucking listened to drum and bass, and I love drum and bass, but I was always playing house. And it got to like when I was maybe 28 and all my friends started listening to house music, and it was just the best time of my life when you could all just go out and like finally, I've been telling you for years and you just listen to drum and bass. Talking about communities and record labels and all of that, do you like touring with people?
Like as your team or like with other DJs?
Other DJs.
I don't mind, because you get to build relationships, see like how you can grow with them, and just being able to like, have lifetime friends, because you're always going to be on the road together, because a lot of time you're away from your family and your friends, but these people you're going to see all the time. So I think it's important.
It's the thing for me that like when I started touring like full time, and it was kind of part of the Dirty Bird crew. Like there was something about the crew that just like you all turn up, you all go to the club together, you like have that community. Do you feel like we have that still?
Yeah, community is very much present.
I say we have communities, yeah, 100%. But I mean in the like the artist realm, where like there are the crews that are all hanging out and kind of do that.
Yeah, it's important for that.
But do you have that?
Yeah, I mean, in my day to day, I absolutely have that. You know, as I mentioned, I manage a few artists. I work with a few artists. I have a record label, so I have my little posse. I have my crew of artists that we always play together. We do back to backs. I'll include them in my shows to play with me. I'll go support them at their shows. I'll go to Burning Man with them.
Yeah.
Trust me, there's a lot.
How is Burning Man? I've never done it.
The best. Yeah, I recommend. Yeah.
How many times have you done it?
It was my second time. This will be like a yearly.
How did you cope with the sand?
How did what?
How did you cope with the sand?
Very well.
Fucking,
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can.
Hey man, outside of Burning Man, I don't like dust. I'm like, oh my god, there's the dust outside my floor. Let me clean. At Burning Man, you gotta learn to embrace it.
Did you have a RV?
No.
Camping?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I was speaking to Nicole Muba on the podcast last week, and she went in. She was like, it cost her 40 grand to
I believe it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, we stayed at the same camp.
Yeah.
But I think she was in an RV.
We were Carl Cox's camp.
Yeah. Playground. But for me, I enjoyed I like the basics because I don't want to drive into Burning Man and have to drive out.
Yeah,
I have too many shows, so like I just come for like 3-4 days, so it's better to.
How do you get there?
I actually got in with a bus.
Okay.
And I got out with a private plane.
We'll check you out.
Yeah, there was booking.
PJ Wanker.
No.
Yeah. Okay, but ultimately, the thing is you for me it works best like that because it's less logistics.
I've never flown private. What's it like?
Flying private?
Yeah.
It's okay. Nothing.
Have you done it?
No, I actually haven't.
No.
But it's gonna happen.
Yeah, we've done. But I mean, yeah, it's convenient. I'll be honest with you. You don't have to like
bypass all the people, the security.
Do you have to go through security?
No.
That'd be so good.
That's why
you just pitch up and they put you in you just pull up to the plane.
So cool. I still can't deal with the private jet photos on Instagram. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I draw a line.
It's not. It's a show off, right?
Yeah.
It's a stature presentation.
Yeah, I'm not into that. But I feel like we're in the world of that.
Yeah, everybody wants to show off everything they have.
Yeah.
Which I don't.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
How do you find that, especially like in what we were talking about in like the culture of older people coming to clubs, wanting bottle services. We're in that show off culture of like we have to put pictures out on Instagram, TikTok. People want to show that they're seeing you, right?
Yeah.
Does the art ever get lost?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does. And the subject of private jets, I think there's two sides to the story, right?
100%.
If you're presenting it as, hey, I'm getting a big booking fee. I don't care about you. I can take a private jet to go wherever I want. That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
There's another way of looking at it as in, hey, I will do whatever it takes to actually spend all of my booking fee on a private jet.
To get to the show.
Because I love you guys and I'm excited. Like, this is happening. I don't care if I'm in Ibiza and I have to go to South Africa the next day. I will take a private jet to XYZ and a connecting flight,
I think also realistically, the whole private jet thing is just a business move. A lot of the time it's like, okay, I have to get to these shows. And a lot of the time you can't.
Exactly. So for me, anytime I've taken a private jet, it wasn't because I wanted to show off or like I wanted to be like, oh,
it's all right. You're around friends. You can admit it, dude.
But I'm telling you, it's because it was logistically impossible.
Yeah, I get it.
There's been some shows like that I wish I took a private jet for.
But I guess for me I'm talking more about not in the DJ world, but like when it comes to the whole Instagram, look at me, I'm watching Francis play, I'm watching HoneyLuv play. When is it about, I guess realistically, this whole mobile phone situation at the clubs that everyone's talking about, which I find hilarious. But what's your kind of take on showing people that you're there rather than enjoying the moment. Is there a case of that?
Not really for me, because I try to make a point not to like always capture everything. Just capture what you want to show. But I feel like in today's age, especially with the DJ career, you have to show literally everything that you're doing, because everyone else is doing it and people want to see. And so I think you just have to find a balance of, you know, sanity, of keeping your sanity while doing so, because it can get very, you know, frustrating to keep cameras on you 24/7.
Do you like phones?
Yeah, I don't mind them.
Yeah.
They're
Listen,
capturing.
Personally, as I've mentioned, you know, you have to evolve with time.
Yep.
Back in the day, you know, the DJ was in the corner.
Yeah.
Today, you are the show. So if you're the show, learn to embrace it. Don't fight it, because
I think it's so important.
I
I think there's moments now where like with everyone's just taking video and posting, we're literally getting free marketing.
exactly.
Literally.
So
That's literally what it is.
I don't know why there's a need for. I mean, I understand. You know, there's a crowd that's just.
There's a time and a place, right?
Yeah.
There are phone parties where people are just not moving, but there
Yeah.
are parties where, you know, people have their phones up, but they're also raving.
Yeah.
So a bit of both is good.
And I feel a lot of DJs have built their careers off of people's phones, and now they don't want to have phones in the club. So it doesn't really make sense to
It's
me.
such a weird thing.
Yeah, like they do their entire marketing. They become
Yeah. And now they
trending
don't
on
want
TikTok.
phones.
Now they're like, oh, we don't want.
We don't want phones.
The irony.
I think it's also a lot of artists aren't even from the era of when there was no phones beforehand. So it's like, well, there was no camera phone. So it's like,
What are you talking about?
there's a lot of artists nowadays that even when I was,
You know what? If they don't want a phone, this is what they should do. They should just go to the club, make the DJ booth in the corner.
yeah,
Like,
put a screen there.
yeah, and just actually put it exactly cover themselves and play in the other room and just play music and like look at people from the other side. That's a good strategy. All the DJs that don't want phones, go
should
play
do
in
that,
like
yeah.
small clubs, dark rooms, in a corner. That's good. Then there's not going to be any phone because nobody wants to film.
No one cares.
Exactly.
The wall.
That's how it was. That's how a DJ used to play before.
Yeah.
Before back
in
in
the corner. I guess there's also the allure of like, I don't know if that's the right word, but of being in the moment, right? And I'm just playing devil's advocate because I'm all for phones in clubs, but there's the kind of the other side of the story of like, well, hang on a minute, like the music that's being played is being played for you guys to enjoy right now. Like, how many times do you go back and watch your videos that you play? Like, probably have 10,000 photos and videos on my phone that I never go back and watch and look for memories.
Yeah, no, I don't.
But so what are you filming for?
I mean, that's maybe because you're a DJ, but I think
I'm talking about just life, general life, not my DJ shows.
I take the time to rewind when I'm on the plane and there's
Oh yeah, nothing else to do.
I've never done that.
I have. Okay,
Literally
I
never.
will do that. If I'm bored, I will go through like my phone. Oh, look at that party, or with this
I've
person.
never done that.
and there's used to it. If you like a song and it's not out, you get a snippet, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If you like a specific moment, a special decor, if you're in love with the DJ, take a video.
Who's ever in love with a DJ?
I mean, I have a lot
Come
of
on,
lovers.
dude.
I have a lot of lovers. You know, when the lovers are
Check this guy out.
when they're like, oh my God, here's Francis. I'm like, okay, they're taking videos.
Coming off your private jet with all your lovers.
Exactly. But
I love
the point that I want to make is, you know, people are capturing memories
Yeah.
that they can watch again. It could be a song. It could be them finally seeing the artist that they've been listening to for the past year in person. They have. I get it. They're recording something that they paid for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. I think that's a perfect time to wrap up. We've just pretty much done an hour.
Lovely.
Guys, thanks so much for coming on. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Will.
I'm glad I wasn't at the gym when this started. And it's been amazing to see all of your careers kind of grow into what it is today. And I can't wait to see what it's like in another year. So big love.
Likewise.
All the best.
And that is a wrap. Big love to the guys for coming on. Thanks to everybody for listening. Till next time, people.